Hello, my name is Samantha Russell. I am the grant coordinator with Anton Art Center, and we at Anton Art Center are the facilitators of the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs grants. The shorthand of the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs is the MCACA, just to give you a heads up if you hear me say that throughout this video. In this video, I'm going to help walk through how to set up an organizational profile and apply for the arts equipment or busing grants as offered with MCACA. And so the first thing that you need to do is apply or fill out your organizational profile. Now, to fill out the organization profile, you will need approval from the principal or superintendent or otherwise authorizing official for your school. The arts equipment and busing grants are meant for K through 12 schools. We at the Anton Art Center facilitate these grants for both Macomb and Oakland County. If your school is outside of Macomb or Oakland County, you are welcome to continue to watch this video to kind of get some tips and tricks on how to navigate the Smart Simple system, but you will be applying with a different region and someone else will be handling your grant process. So the organization profile, and my screens will look a tad different than yours. This is set up through the Anton Art Center, and we're not a K through 12 school, but I think a lot of it's similar enough. And so from your homepage, the first thing you'll want to do is to set up your profiles. And since you're applying on behalf of the K through 12 school, you're going to hit organization profile. And you're going to input all of your school's information in here. It's not your personal information, but your organization is the school district that you work for. And so within the school district, each building can apply for this grant every other year. And so if you work at the middle school, your colleague at the high school can apply as well. But if you all are awarded, you will not be able to apply in the next fiscal year. So that way we can spread out the funding. And so you'll fill in the school's name, the district's name, the main address, and that's for the whole district here, web address as it exists, any pertinent federal or state identification numbers, and then the appropriate in the drop-down menu here for the organization status, applicant status, all of these as they show up in yours. You'll need to know your congressional district number, your Senate number, and your House of Representatives, and there's a link in each of these locations to help you identify who those are. And then you'll save this. I always suggest saving the draft so that nothing is lost if the internet goes down. You'll fill out any ADA information. Remember, anything with an asterisk is required. Occasionally, you'll find a little question mark, and if you hover your mouse over that, you'll get a further explanation here. I'm unaware if the education has the organizational thing, but you'll just go through each of your top navigations here and fill in any asterisked information. When you have fill-in boxes like we do here in our demographics, I suggest using a separate word processor. That way you can save the information and work on it as you go. And it won't get lost if you type a whole lot. You can see a character count below the boxes of how much you have left. They give you a considerable amount of space to type in all of this information. In the contacts, you want to make sure to list yourself as the teacher as well as the principal or superintendent, again, the person that's the authorized official to approve grant and funding for your school. And then you'll submit this section, your school's section. And once you've submitted it successfully, you'll have an opportunity populated here. Ours doesn't show up here. I had one created to walk us through. You would select here, and to kind of show you on one of our other options, that if you select here, you should see your deadlines just pretend this says the arts equipment or busing grant. Be aware of your application deadline. There is an actual clock time attached to that. And so depending what round or fiscal year you're applying in, this might look different. So just make sure to take note of that. And then you'll hit the apply now, which will take you to an eligibility quiz. So you'll want to double check that it's the correct organization, which should be your school or district's names. And then the project director is you. You're the one guiding this project as the teacher. And so then you're going to answer these questions honestly. Take note of the proposed time that has to occur within the fiscal year. And so you want to make sure that whatever equipment or busing that you're applying for will happen before that final date here. I always save draft and then I hit submit. Assuming everything's answered right, I'm brought to an assurances page. For your education and busing one, you too will be brought to an assurances page. This is the first stage of contracting, which is why it's important that you make sure that your principal or superintendent is aware of the incoming application. They are the ones responsible for signing official documents, and we use DocuSign to issue those documents via email. You're going to add contacts here. The first one you'll want to add is your principal or superintendent. I'm going to type in my boss's name to show the example. So this should populate out of your organization's information. So just double check that you're getting the correct person. Your school district may already have one set up. And so make sure that you're, again, this is why it's great to communicate with your principal or superintendent to find out if these types of things are already existing in the Smart Simple system. Once you find the correct individual, you can check the name, the title, organization, all of that. You'll just give it a tap. And then the role for your superintendent or principal is going to be authorizing official. You'll click the plus mark. You'll add yourself. Again, make sure that you're selecting the right person. If you are a practicing artist, you can set up an individual applicant account so that you can apply for a professional or organization development grant if you would like to. You can also apply for this arts equipment grant as a teacher. It's two different systems. And so make sure that you're selecting the right person. And so here, my title on this one is grant coordinator. That's the one that I want because it's applying for this organization. And I'm selecting myself as a grantee. And then click submit. It populates in the form below. You'll want to read over this important information here. If this application was approved or not. And then you're going to click Continue to Application. When you select Continue to Application, the system populates an assurances page, which is then emailed to your authorizing official. And before you're able to submit your application, they will need to sign that DocuSign document. That DocuSign contract is only good for 5 days. And so make sure that they're aware it's incoming so that they can get it signed and back to you. If they do not sign it within the 5 days, you will get a reissue button and you will be able to reissue the assurances page to your principal or superintendent, whomever your authorizing official is, and they'll be able to sign it. The old one will expire and the new one will start. Now, once you've done all that, I'm going to take us back to the home page. You can see up in this upper right area, we have Grantee Home, various buttons here. Applications and Grants is where all of your started applications will populate to. You can check by application type if you've got a few pending. We at the Art Center have loads. And find the one that says the mini grants arts equipment and supplies, or the mini grants bus one. I'm going to walk us through the arts equipment and supplies. Most of the grants are all set up pretty much the same, just a couple little differences. I'm going to open here. And so again, this is that assurances page. So wherever you leave off, if you haven't saved your application after doing a few things, it's going to go back to that most recent save point. In this point, or in this case, it was the assurances page. So I'm just going to add our executive director and myself back in here. Click that submit. Populates below. Double check the information. Here we go. This one's more pertinent. So this application is for educational support and has been approved by the school principal. And so I'm going to select that it has been approved. If it's not, you need to make sure that it has been approved. Just shoot an email or give a phone call to your principal. And then I'm going to continue to the application. Now you can see up top here that we are in draft status, no longer in assurances. If I go back to applications and grants, this application is now at the top. It's the most recent one that I've gotten into, and it's now listed as draft, so I can reopen it here. I like to double check the top information to make sure that I'm in the correct one. So we have the Region 10A mini grant. AES stands for Art Equipment and Supplies. The organization name, myself. And then this hyperlink right here, application guidelines, is a helpful tool for you to use as you're filling out your Smart Simple. It'll take you to the MEDC box where you can find the PDFs for the final report guidelines, which is something that if you are awarded, you will have to complete at the end of your proposed application. We also have so that's for the bus. This is arts equipment. And then we have the other arts equipment guidelines here. This is the one that you'll want to open up while you're working. You can find in this box if you're eligible, deadlines, and then in the table of contents, you can see the application's basics, the Smart Simple setup, the step-by-step equipment and supply grant instructions. So all of these have been thoughtfully written by the folks at the MEDC and the MCACA. So going back in, scrolling just a tad down, you can see we have the project information, project summary, attachments, application PDF, internal assurances. And so under project information, that's where we're going to start. Double check the organization's information is correct, that there isn't any typos or anything wrong. Contact details, make sure that that's you, correct name and address. And then the project details is where we're going to start. So anything with an asterisk, again, of course, is required. So the name of the school, you're going to type the name of your school. The arts equipment and supplies to be purchased. And so you're just going to kind of give a summary of what's happening. You can also use this application to repair anything that's been damaged. And so just type on in there what it is, briefly what you're going to get. Then your requested amount, you're allowed to ask up to $1,500. You need to have it exact. You will have to include attachments including a quote, and so whomever your school shops through, you're going to use that to populate a quote, and then you're going to put that exact number in this box, rounded up to the nearest dollar. If your request exceeds the $1,500, we will only approve up to the $1,500, and it is good to keep in mind that this is a reimbursement grant. And so once we get to the attachments, you'll see where to submit your quote. If your application is approved, you then need to purchase the equipment, submit a receipt as an attachment, and then we issue a reimbursement check for the exact amount that that your receipt reflects. If your request ends up being higher or lower than your final purchase, that's fine within reason. We do understand that sales begin or end, that prices will change abruptly, and so that's why we ask for the proof of quotes and purchases, so that way we have all of that paperwork there. You're going to select the grade levels that this grant is serving, just by checking those boxes, any and all that apply. It might only be one grade, it might be multiple grades. That's perfectly fine. There's not really a right or wrong. You just have to make sure to select there. That isn't something that's asterisked, but it does help your application case. The equipment gives you a drop-down list, and so you're just going to scroll through to find whatever fits your request the best. Since I've written this for kiln shelves and witness cones, I'm going to select these ceramics here, and then the project description. So you're just going to write a short description of what materials you need and your educational goals associated with the supplies. And then what counties your school services. If you only exist within, say, Oakland or Macomb County, then you would just select one or the other of those. If you have students bussed in from other counties, neighboring by, or a private school that serves many counties, just select all of them that apply for your specific case. And then save draft. Anytime before you navigate away from a page, make sure that you're saving that draft so that you don't lose any of your work. Next, we're going to move on to project summary. Giving that a click, you just have the one summary here where you're going to explain how the supplies purchased with these funds will help meet the educational goals and allow your students to achieve learning outcomes. And so, very simply, just explain to us how it benefits. So you can go into as much or little description as you need to. Keep in mind, again, there is a word count here, and so it's going to count down until how many that you have left. Save the draft as always. Move on to an attachment. The attachment here is what I mentioned, that you need a quote. So that's a proof of cost. You need to make sure that you're utilizing a reputable source. It can't be on your own letterhead or anything like that. And so whoever your school uses, again, oftentimes you can just build a shopping cart. Blick Arts is one that everybody seems to use quite frequently. You can set up wish lists right in here. And so if they have what you need, you can create or add to a wish list here. You can also add it to your cart. And then you can create your shopping cart into either a PDF through saving that or give us a screen grab. Just make sure that we see how many of what and the total cost. And so typically you can just through file export as a PDF, and it'll give you this web page as a PDF that you can then upload here, because the system only allows PDFs. And that'll give us the proof of cost of the items that you're looking for as required. Save that draft. In the application PDF, this is where you can populate a PDF of the application that you just filled out to keep for your own records, whether you do digital or printed. This is what you can save. It'll have everything populated into it that you have submitted. Internal is for any, again, internal information, and then the assurances, once you get that back, will show up here. Down this side, you can see the contacts listed. Your organization's information is here, all of the basics. So once your application is completed, I'll be the one to see it. If you have any questions, you can, of course, email me, and I can help you through this if you're still a little stymied on particular parts. Most often, the hiccups that I've been seeing is that the organization information is input incorrectly, or the principal has yet to sign the assurances page, and so it never fully uploads. And then with project summary, just make sure that you're getting the correct attachments in there, and you're doing your best to explain to me what it is that you're getting and how it fits the needs. You don't have to be an art teacher to do this, as long as it is a creative arts or cultural based project, that it can be explained as an arts or culture based project, then we're able to fund those projects. So if you have any more questions about the Smart Simple system, if something qualifies, anything like that, you can email program officer up here. You can see my name listed, or you can go to theartcenter.org and find my email there. It is also askrussell@theartcenter.org. And I'll be happy to help all of you write successful applications to the best of my ability, and so that we can get those funds to you and your students.